In the command center of the Vraxian flagship Dominance, high above the swirling clouds of planet Tethys, General Marnex stood with an air of authority only seen in those who had commanded fleets across the galaxies. His form was imposing, his stature marked by years of victorious campaigns, with scales that shimmered a deep shade of cerulean under the dim lighting of the bridge. His eyes, piercing and calculating, surveyed the room filled with his highest-ranking officers and strategists. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered with potential targets, star systems within the reach of the Vraxian Dominion's expanding grasp. Voices rose and fell in strategic debate, proposing and discarding planets with the casual indifference of those accustomed to interstellar conquest. It was then that a younger officer, Psylock, stepped forward. Ambitious and eager to make his mark, Psylock suggested Earth, a planet that was frequently overlooked due to its inhabitants' lack of advanced interstellar technology, but noted for its rich resources and strategic location. The room hushed at the mention, as many considered it an easy target ripe for the taking. General Marnex, however, reacted differently. His eyes narrowed and the room fell completely silent under his gaze. "We do not engage with Earth," he stated firmly, his voice resonating with a finality that brooked no argument. The officers exchanged puzzled looks, but none dared to question the decision openly. Marnex had a reputation not only for his tactical genius, but also for decisions that had saved Vraxian lives, even if they were not immediately understood by his council. Seeing the confusion his statement had caused, Marnex decided it was time to clarify the directive that had long been a silent rule among the higher echelons of the Vraxian military. "Assemble in the briefing room," he ordered, his tone leaving no room for further discussion. "I will explain why our policy towards Earth stands as it does." Minutes later, as the officers gathered, Marnex activated the archive controls, bringing up classified files, records that were sealed for high command eyes only. The screen lit up with images of a battle that had taken place decades earlier, one that was not part of the public military archives. The footage showed Vraxian troops in disarray, something unheard of for the disciplined and formidable forces of the Dominion. Human fighters, vastly outnumbered, used guerrilla tactics, striking from hidden positions in dense terrains of their homeworld. They utilized makeshift but surprisingly effective weapons, and displayed a kind of fierce tenacity and creativity in warfare that had caught the Vraxians off guard. "As you can see," Marnex spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of memory, "our last encounter with Earth cost us dearly. Their technology may not match ours, but their ability to adapt and fight surpassed all our predictions. They are unpredictable, and they fight with a ferocity that comes from their will to survive and protect their home, not just to conquer." He let the images sink in, the scenes of chaos and Vraxian retreat playing over the faces of his officers. "This is why we never fight the humans," he concluded. "We underestimated them once. It will not happen again under my command." The officers, now sobered by the revelation, nodded their understanding. The meeting adjourned with a new sense of caution, the name Earth now etched in their minds not as a target, but as a lesson in humility and respect. After the meeting, the room cleared, but Psylock lingered, his curiosity unsated by the brief explanation. His bright yellow eyes followed General Marnex, who seemed to sense the young officer's unresolved questions. "Come with me, Psylock," Marnex said, leading him down the labyrinthine corridors of the flagship to a secluded part of the ship where the most sensitive data was kept. They entered a room secured by biometric locks and guarded by two of the most trusted members of the security force. Inside, the room was stark, illuminated by the soft glow of monitors displaying encrypted data streams. Marnex approached a terminal, his claws clicking against the keyboard as he entered a series of commands. The screen flickered, and a series of documents appeared, top-secret reports and analyses from the disastrous Earth campaign. "These files are only accessible to those of high command, and I am making an exception by showing them to you," Marnex spoke gravely. "But I believe it is important for you to understand the full context of our past interactions with humans." He opened a file labeled Operation Downfall, which detailed the Vraxian plan to subjugate Earth. The operation was a textbook invasion: establish a beachhead, subdue the local population, and secure the planet's resources. However, the report quickly devolved into a narrative of unforeseen challenges and failures. The humans, despite their technological inferiority, had demonstrated a remarkable ability to mobilize and adapt. They had repurposed their industrial machinery for war at a speed that baffled Vraxian strategists. Their military, though less advanced, used the terrain to their advantage, setting ambushes in urban ruins and striking supply lines unexpectedly. Another file showed intercepted human communications, messages filled with determination and calls for unity. They rallied their entire planet in defense, Marnex explained. Every nation, every resource focused on repulsion of our forces. Psylock absorbed the information, his expression a mix of admiration and concern. How did our forces fail to anticipate this level of resistance? He asked, struggling to reconcile the scale of the oversight. We underestimated their resolve, Marnex replied, his voice tinged with regret. We viewed them through our lens of experience, believing that technological superiority guarantees victory. We did not account for their spirit, nor their capability to unite against a common enemy. It was not just a military failure, it was a failure of understanding. He showed Psylock another document, a post-mission analysis by Vraxian intelligence, suggesting that the human will to fight was bolstered by their diversity and adaptability. They learn quickly and from each other, Marnex noted. Diverse thoughts, diverse strategies. As they left the secure room, Marnex placed a heavy hand on Psylock's shoulder. Remember this, young officer. In the vastness of the cosmos, power is not merely about wielding might, but understanding when and where to exercise it. Earth is not just a planet. It is a symbol of what happens when pride blinds us to the true nature of our adversary. Psylock nodded, his mind racing with the implications of what he had learned. It was a lesson he would not soon forget, a lesson in humility and the intricate calculus of power. Psylock, his curiosity deepening, decided to conduct his own research on humans. His interest had grown beyond a mere tactical evaluation. He was now driven by a need to understand this enigmatic species that had halted the might of the Vraxian dominion. In his quarters, he activated his personal console and delved into the vast espionage archives of the Dominion, seeking out every piece of intelligence gathered on humans over the decades. He found reports from undercover agents, intercepted transmissions, and detailed analyses of human behavior during crises. One particular document caught his eye, a detailed report on human responses during the Zorthian invasions, a series of brutal conflicts involving another alien race. Despite being outmatched in terms of weaponry and numbers, humans had not only survived but had managed to repel the invaders through sheer resilience and rapid adaptation. As he read, Psylock was struck by the numerous accounts of human innovation under pressure. During one battle, with their backs against the wall, a group of human engineers had modified their defensive systems overnight to exploit a frequency weakness in Zorthian shields, turning the tide of a critical skirmish. Another file detailed the psychological operations conducted by humans, which played a significant role in their defense strategies. They had managed to sow confusion and discord among Zorthian troops by broadcasting tailored propaganda, exploiting the cultural and linguistic divides within the alien forces. Psylock also found multiple instances of human solidarity. Communities worldwide had unified, pooling resources and knowledge, and even forming civilian militias when their military was stretched thin. This unity was unlike anything seen in other species, where infighting and fragmentation were common in times of stress. Each report painted a picture of a species that, although fragmented by different ideologies and cultures, could present a formidable united front when threatened by external forces. They seemed to embody a paradox, fiercely individualistic yet capable of extraordinary collective action when necessary. Intrigued by these findings, Psylock next accessed visual archives, watching footage of humans in combat, in diplomacy, and in their day-to-day lives. He saw leaders rallying their people with powerful speeches, soldiers protecting civilians at great risk to themselves, and ordinary individuals performing acts of great courage and ingenuity. The more Psylock learned, the more he respected and feared the potential of humanity as a whole. They were a species that thrived on challenge and turned adversity into opportunity, a trait that could be admired but also warranted caution. As he compiled his findings, preparing to present them to General Marnex and perhaps the War Council, he realized that his view of the universe had shifted. Humans were not just another target or obstacle, but a complex, vibrant species capable of much more than anyone in the Vraxian Dominion had previously acknowledged. This deep dive into human history and capability made Psylock question the very nature of conflict and conquest. Perhaps there were alternatives to the Dominion's usual approach of subjugation and control. Could there be a place for partnership and mutual respect in the cosmos? These were questions he now felt compelled to raise, influenced by the tenacity and spirit of humanity. Motivated by his findings, General Marnex decided that first-hand experience would provide Psylock with the clearest insight into human resilience and ingenuity. He arranged for Psylock to observe a controlled military engagement at a small human colony on the outskirts of Vraxian-controlled space. This colony, known as Haven, was not yet aware of the broader galactic politics and the Vraxian Dominion's usual approaches to conquest. As the Vraxian fleet approached Haven, the expectation was clear. This was to be a demonstration of might, intended to swiftly intimidate the colony into submission. However, Marnex cautioned restraint to his officers, emphasizing observation and minimal engagement. "We are here to learn, not to conquer," he reminded them, a notion that puzzled many within the ranks. Upon arrival, the Vraxians made a show of force, deploying several warships in a high orbit above the colony. Their initial communications demanded the colony's leaders to surrender and submit to Vraxian authority. The response from Haven was unexpected. Not only did they refuse to yield, but they also issued a stern warning against any hostile actions. Psylock monitored the situation from the flagship, observing how the colonists organized their defense. To his surprise, the humans did not rely solely on conventional military tactics. Instead, they leveraged their knowledge of the local terrain, utilizing the dense forests and rugged landscapes to their advantage. When a small contingent of Vraxian troops landed as a show of strength, they found themselves not in a quick skirmish, but embroiled in a protracted engagement. Human fighters, knowing they could not match the Vraxians in an open battle, engaged in hit-and-run tactics. They used improvised explosive devices and traps, causing confusion and chaos among the Vraxian ranks. Psylock watched as the Vraxian forces, though superior in technology and training, struggled to adapt to the guerrilla tactics employed by the humans. The engagement quickly stalemated, with Vraxian troops unable to secure the colony without incurring significant losses. Throughout this engagement, Psylock noted the remarkable human ability to coordinate their efforts despite limited resources and communication. They seemed to anticipate the Vraxians' moves, adapting swiftly to counter each strategy the Vraxians employed. As the operation dragged on, it became evident that any attempt to take the colony by force would be costly and counterproductive. Marnex eventually ordered a withdrawal, deeming the continued conflict unjustifiable. "We have seen enough," he declared solemnly. In the aftermath, as the Vraxian forces regrouped and left Haven's orbit, Psylock processed the day's lessons. The colony's defiance, despite the overwhelming odds, spoke volumes about human tenacity. It wasn't merely their military strategies, but their sheer will to resist and preserve their way of life that impressed him deeply. After witnessing the defiant spirit of the human colony, Psylock returned to the Vraxian flagship, his mind swirling with thoughts and newfound perspectives. He realized the importance of conveying what he had learned to the Vraxian War Council, hoping to influence their strategic decisions about humanity. Psylock spent the following days compiling a detailed report. He included analyses of human military strategies, their psychological resilience, and the profound sense of solidarity they displayed in the face of external threats. His findings were thorough, highlighting the innovative tactics and adaptive responses humans employed against superior forces. With the report complete, Psylock requested an audience with the War Council, a gathering of the most powerful military leaders in the Vraxian Dominion. The council chamber was a grand hall, lined with the banners of conquered worlds, a stark reminder of the Dominion's expansive power. As Psylock presented his findings, the chamber filled with a tense silence. He showed footage from the skirmish at Haven, pointing out the humans' resourceful use of the environment and their quick adaptation to changing battle conditions. He explained how even a small human colony could resist a well-equipped Vraxian force through guile and determination. The cost of subjugating such a species could be astronomical, Psylock emphasized. Not just in resources, but in potential losses and ongoing conflict. We must reconsider our approach. General Marnex supported Psylock's presentation, adding his own strategic insights. Our previous encounters, combined with what Officer Psylock observed, suggest that our usual tactics of intimidation and overwhelming force are less effective against humans. They thrive under pressure and unite in the face of adversity. The council listened, their expressions a mix of skepticism and contemplation. The idea of not pursuing conquest was alien to many, yet the evidence presented by Psylock was compelling. After lengthy discussions, the council began to see the wisdom in Psylock's arguments. The risk of a prolonged conflict with Earth, potentially drawing in other human colonies or even forming new alliances against the Vraxian Dominion, could jeopardize their current standing in the galaxy. Finally, the head of the council, a venerable leader named Vorex, who had seen many cycles of war and peace, spoke. "Perhaps it is time we explore alternatives to our traditional methods. If Earth's inhabitants are as formidable as reported, we should consider paths that might lead to mutual benefit rather than conquest." The council agreed to a provisional halt on military plans against Earth, opting instead to observe and analyze further. They tasked Psylock with leading a committee to explore non-aggressive interactions with humans, looking into diplomacy and potential exchanges that could benefit both species. Psylock felt a mix of relief and responsibility. His report had not only averted a possibly disastrous conflict, but it also opened the possibility for a new chapter in Vraxian policy, one that could lead to peaceful coexistence and cooperation. This was a turning point, not just for him personally, but potentially for the entire Vraxian Dominion. With the War Council's decision to explore non-aggressive avenues with Earth, Psylock embarked on formulating a comprehensive strategy to approach humans through diplomacy and trade instead of conquest. General Marnex, having observed Psylock's growth and understanding of the human spirit, appointed him as the chief diplomat in this new venture. Psylock, along with a team of experts in interstellar diplomacy, began crafting a plan that would showcase the Vraxian Dominion's strength in a more benevolent light. They proposed initiatives like technology sharing, resource trading, and even joint ventures in neutral territories that could benefit both species economically and scientifically. As part of the preparation, Psylock delved into studying human culture and communication styles. He learned about their complex social norms, their appreciation for directness mixed with diplomacy, and their high regard for agreements that promoted mutual benefits. This was a different kind of challenge, requiring finesse and understanding rather than brute strength. General Marnex, meanwhile, worked on securing support from other segments of the Vraxian military and government, ensuring that this new approach had a solid foundation and broad approval. He addressed concerns and outlined the potential long-term benefits of a partnership with humanity, which included access to innovative technologies and new allies in a galaxy filled with potential threats. With strategies and plans in place, the Vraxians prepared for their first diplomatic mission to Earth. They selected a delegation that included Vraxian scientists, trade experts, and cultural ambassadors, led by Psylock. The flagship, once a symbol of Vraxian might, was reconfigured to serve as a diplomatic vessel, equipped with translation devices, cultural gifts, and detailed briefs on human etiquette. The day of the departure was a momentous one. As the Vraxian delegation boarded their flagship, there was a sense of cautious optimism. The journey to Earth was uneventful, but the tension rose as they entered the solar system, aware of the scrutiny they would be under from human defense systems. Upon arrival, the Vraxians transmitted their peaceful intentions and were met with guarded but polite curiosity. The human leaders agreed to a meeting on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Earth that served as a hub for international diplomacy. The first meeting was tense but respectful. Psylock, leading the talks, extended a hand of friendship and outlined the Vraxians' proposals for cooperation. The humans, intrigued by the possibility of accessing Vraxian technology and establishing a galactic ally, engaged earnestly in the discussions. Negotiations continued over several days, with both sides cautiously probing the other's intentions and capabilities. Gradually, barriers began to break down as both humans and Vraxians discovered common goals and shared threats in the galaxy that could be better faced together. Finally, an agreement was reached. The treaty included terms of technology exchange, a mutual defense pact, and the establishment of a joint exploration initiative. Both sides hailed the treaty as a historic success, marking a new era of cooperation between Earth and the Vraxian Dominion. Back aboard the Vraxian flagship, now orbiting peacefully around Earth, General Marnex and Psylock looked out at the blue planet below. The successful negotiations had not only averted a potential disaster, but had opened a pathway to a future that neither had imagined possible. The humans taught us that strength is not measured by how many battles you win, but by the wars you wisely choose not to fight. Marnix mused aloud, his voice reflective. Psylock nodded, his thoughts on the journey ahead. And perhaps, he added, the greatest strength lies in recognizing when to extend a hand, rather than a fist. As the flagship prepared to return to Vraxian space, both Marnix and Psylock knew that the real work was just beginning. Building trust, implementing the treaty, and blending two very different cultures would be a challenging task. But the potential rewards, a peaceful coexistence and a shared prosperity, were worth every effort. Their alliance with humanity stood as a testament to what could be achieved when different worlds chose understanding and cooperation over conflict and conquest.